how would you guys describe what being resentful feels like so people can identify what resentment feels like?
I have the best, for anybody who knows Glennon Doyle, she was able to articulate this in a way that I love and I now use all the time. She says that for her, when she knows she's feeling resentful, is when she has the thought, must be nice. And I was like, oh, I love that. That's exactly what it is. The second you're looking at somebody thinking, must be nice, you know that there's resentment there, right? And a lot of us know that feeling of must be nice. Whether it's, in her instance, it was like her partner, Abby, kind of relaxing and like hanging out and watching soccer and relaxing for her day's work. And she would look at her and think, must be nice. But why was she doing that, right? Like nobody was telling her that she wasn't also allowed to sit down and relax. It's just that her upbringing, her wiring, all her codependent bullshit was telling her she had to be constantly moving, constantly productive, constantly cleaning, constantly whatever. And so she started realizing when she would do the must be nice that there was resentment there, which needed a conversation. So that's been really helpful for me.
And also, if you're resentful, you have to explore how much of it is warranted.
Yep.
And then how much of it is yours
to own.
Yours to own. I mean,
Yeah.
You never even expressed anything. You're just harboring, this kind of anger. So resentful, I think, is also worth exploring. It's not black and white.
Totally.
It doesn't automatically mean that someone did something wrong.
Yep. Usually resentment is yours to own. I mean, usually resentment is yours first and foremost to explore. And then you have the conversation if you feel like well,
the ownership piece is you waited too long. It's almost like, if the peaches went bad or the bananas are now, black, you waited too long. And so like that's probably a horrible.
No, I kind of like that actually.
Okay,
I mean,
good.
We'll go with that.
I'm brilliant. Groot. So if you're already feeling resentful, I think it's a great sign that your responsibility was to talk about it, express it, do something about it before it's almost like it's too late.
It's gone bad.
It's gone bad. It's now sour.
Yeah. But some of us don't know until it's gone sour that it's gone sour.
Because that's what we're used to.
Right.
Because we don't exercise. Hey, listen, what you did hurt me, or I feel rejected, or here's a need that I have, or whatever it is, right?
Yeah.
Or I pick up the socks too much, or whatever.
So how do people who are walking around in a cloud of resentment, how do they start to put up boundaries to try and get rid of that? What's like the first step, especially if you've been stuck in it for like 5 years?
Yeah.
Like, oh no, I haven't mentioned that I don't like this for 5 years. Like, what do I do? Hey,
suddenly
should have said something.
About boundaries. I think it's about bridges. I think if you feel that you have anger and resentment, it's a sign that you need to do something about it. And maybe starting with the therapist or a coach, but ultimately talking to your partner and expressing the anger. I have actually a real life example. My ex-wife, who we, like, after 10 years actually sat down at a Korean barbecue, just had an amicable chat, and we hugged. It's the kind of hug where it's like, I'll probably never see you again, but have a great life, right? It was that kind of like hug, understanding. I thought all was forgiven. And then months later, I got an email and my God. I mean, some of the stuff she said, it just blew me away, which meant she was still carrying resentment and anger. And I was thinking to myself, how come you didn't tell me, even at the Korean barbecue, that you were still mad about things? You're still mad, and so the banana went black. I feel like you have a responsibility to start telling the people that you're resentful toward why. And and also not just blaming, because that's not going to work, right? You don't just say, you
did this and now
you
I'm
did
resentful.
this, and I've been picking up your socks for 10 years, and maybe you do that to your therapist, right? To get that, and then you go to your husband, dad, friend, whatever, say, hey, listen, here's what I feel. And if they're able to hold that space for you,
which is the big key.
Yeah. And then many are not, right? Many will blame you back. But if they are able to hold that space for you, and that's why it's important to come in not hot or defensive, right? You can come at your therapist like that, and then come in more of a, hey, listen, I care about this relationship, and this is why I'm telling you, I still feel some resentment for this or what happened. And if they're able to hold that, then the resentment starts to dissolve. If they're not able to hold it, the resentment
compounds, really.
Either compounds, or it's like, fuck, I shouldn't have even said this. Look, they're not even listening to me. So you do have to trust your judgment as well. So it's complicated. Yeah.
This is the discernment piece. And also too,
Yeah.
I mean, so many times in therapy, I'll say to people, but you're not saying it to them for a potential outcome, because it's not, you're actually not expressing your resentment. I get the idea that you are, but you're not actually expressing the resentment for any specific outcome other than practicing communicating what's going on for you. How the other person responds is actually not, that has something to do with you. It doesn't concern, that's on them. That's their thing, based on their stuff, based on their history, their lack of communication skills, whatever it is. But how they communicate back to you is just information for you about their capacity and their willingness to meet you. And then you get to do with that information what you will. But it's not your responsibility, and it's not your, it's not your responsibility. It's like your responsibility is to you, right? Not to them in a way.
But probably don't start with saying, hey, here are the 50 things I've written down that I'm resentful about that you have to fix.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, because that's
You're welcome. Yeah.
right. One of the things we talk about in the book is coming with your partner, not at or around. And so something that I carry will help me. So saying here are the 50 things that you did wrong is coming at someone, right? That's a
Finger
pointing.
pointing, yeah.
Saying nothing is going around someone, right? So to do life with someone means, hey, listen, here's how I feel. I'm not blaming you. I'm saying this because I want our relationship to grow. I'm showing myself. Can you hold that for me?
And my part to own in this, if we're saying socks, for example, my part to own in this is that I should have told you 5 years ago that picking up your dirty socks every day makes me feel like you don't value my time. I own that. I should have said that 5 years ago, and that's my part to own. And most of the time, if you come in with a component that is yours, that's also a really good way to kind of take that finger pointing out of it, because you're not putting all the blame on them. You do have a responsibility to own something in that.
Owning is hard. It's very
hard.
very adulting, and blaming is easy. Our book is all about breaking the blame cycle.
Yeah.
And in order to break the blame cycle, two people have to own whatever is their part. Usually one person does and the other person doesn't. And then it doesn't work.
And then you just argue. Yeah.
Yeah. And then
I think
sideways.
Potentially coming in with a solution too, saying, hey, I should have said something 5 years ago, and instead I've just been getting angrier and angrier. But I really don't like cleaning up after you. Right.
Sure.
So instead, like going forward, could you either clean up after yourself, or maybe we can scrounge around some money and get a housekeeper? Otherwise, I'm going to be resentful forever. Maybe giving some ways out when you come with resentment problems too, being like, I understand that I contributed to this. It has to stop. Here's some maybe solutions. Are you open to any of the solutions? And if the other person's like, oh, you're mad at me, and they're not open to any of the solutions, then maybe there's more to work on. Yeah.
It's also telling of the relationship, one's capacity. Is this relationship fixable? One's response is telling. It's like a dipstick, like you're checking oil,
information.
And if what you're getting is always defensiveness, not once, because we could all be defensive, but if that's always, when you come at someone, they're always defensive, I don't know if it's going to work, because it's not sustainable.